My name is John Whittaker, and I have been asked to review the book, Does the Bible Support Same-Sex Marriage by Preston Sprinkle. And this particular book is Dr. Sprinkle's latest contribution to the ongoing conversation that we're having in culture at large, as well as in the church in particular, about sexuality and gender and marriage. And this book is designed to provide thoughtful Christian responses to some of the main arguments that the Bible actually does support same-sex marriage. It's put together in such a way that it can be like a one-stop book for addressing some of those arguments. And the author, Preston Sprinkle, is a card-carrying biblical scholar. He has a PhD in New Testament studies from the University of Aberdeen, and yet he writes for everyday people. In fact, he himself is just a very down-to-earth sort of guy. He's the father of four teens and young adults. He loves the Los Angeles Dodgers. He can't resist chips and salsa. And yet he is deeply rooted in scholarship and academic research. In fact, when he writes on anything, he'll carve out weeks or months to read anything and everything he can get his hands on that subject. And part of his research on this particular topic of sexuality and marriage is over 10 years of lived experience and conversations with people across the spectrum, people he agrees with, people he doesn't agree with, people who have wrestled deeply with same-sex attraction and yet sought to be faithful to Jesus. And it's that combination of deep academic research as well as lived experience that I think makes this book an incredibly helpful guide, both in its content and in the way it models for us how to have a helpful conversation about this topic. The book itself begins with two foundational chapters. The first one is just on that very subject, how to have a fruitful, gracious conversation. The second chapter sets the frame of reference for the whole book. It's a chapter on the historic Christian view of marriage. From there, what Preston does then is take 21 different arguments, what he sees as some of the main arguments for the Bible supporting same-sex marriage. He'll try to summarize the argument as accurately and fairly as he can. He'll point out maybe a few areas where he agrees with the argument, and then he'll offer a thoughtful Christian biblical response to the argument. And some of the main ideas from the book are these: that sex difference is an intrinsic part of marriage as God designed it. That is, that God intends and designed marriage between a male and a female. Another key idea of the book is that the Bible is clear and consistent that same-sex behavior violates God's design for sexual expression and for marriage, and really therefore qualifies as one of the behaviors that fits the scriptural category of sexual immorality. Another key idea is that love is not at odds with an exclusive commitment to the historically Christian view of marriage and sexuality. Christians are commanded both to love others and to follow the Creator's design for marriage and sexual behavior. One doesn't exclude the other. And then this quote comes really towards the end of the book, and I think it's really helpful for us to hear. Preston writes that when the church lives out the whole gospel of Christ, the countercultural sexual ethic of the Bible is actually livable and good and beautiful and compelling. Let me just point out a couple of the key strengths of the book. Before I list off a few, let me just note that because of the way this book is put together with these 21 key arguments, you can read the book straight through from cover to cover if you want to do that. Or you can look at the table of contents and say, I've heard that idea. Ooh, I've been told that. And you can flip to those chapters and you can just read through Preston's thoughts on specific ideas. And so that in itself makes the book quite useful. Here are just a handful of key strengths of the book. The first is that the book is loaded with in-depth research, but it's put together in a clear and accessible way. It's rooted in massive amounts of reading and research across a wide spectrum. Modern scholars, ancient works, secular writing, supporters of the historically Christian view, affirming biblical scholars. Preston has read the whole gamut. There's actually some technical data in a few of the chapters. There's lots of historical context, and yet the book is written in a very clear, accessible, down-to-earth sort of way. So that, I think, is a key strength of the book. Another key strength is that it provides a very broad treatment about a lot of material, and yet it does so in a way that's not overwhelming. If you just stop and think about what's covered in the book, an explanation of the historic Christian view of marriage, you get arguments like the biblical writers didn't even know about sexual orientation like we do today, or the word homosexual was added to the Bible in 1946. And so therefore it doesn't even really talk about that. Paul wasn't even talking about consensual same-sex relationships like our modern idea of same-sex marriage, right? There's just a whole lot more arguments. In addition to that, it covers a massive amount of ground, but it does so in only 237 pages. So it's not overwhelming. Each chapter is kind of a short conversation that provides a quick summary and introduction to the key considerations. And then one final key strength of the book is that it models for us a gracious conversation. Because Preston has real relationships and real friendships with a broad spectrum of people, he's engaged in lots of conversations with those people. He's learned really how to have gracious, fruitful conversations with people across the spectrum. And he has worked hard, both in life and in this book, to model that and to present his ideas in that way. And so this really approach to the book and to Preston's approach to this topic is, I think, helpful and instructive for us. Let me highlight just a main weakness of the book as well. Every strength often has its own corresponding weakness, right? And that seems to be the case here. Now, there's one key weakness I see with the book. And before I note that, let me just point out something kind of a personal opinion. I love how Preston is gracious. He models what it looks like to lead with love. And I just think that's so important. I appreciate that deeply about Preston, his life, his ministry, this book. And yet every now and then, as I read through the book, I just felt like, I just wish you would have been a little bit clearer or a little bit stronger on a few things. It was infrequent. It wasn't something I could even point out, maybe a specific place. It was just something more I sensed and I felt. So it may just be me. But overall, his responses are very clear and very straightforward, and I find that helpful. But here's one main weakness with the book. A lot more could be said. A lot more about each of these topics could be said. This is a broad but brief survey of 21 arguments, and that means what you get are short summaries. And Preston knows that. He recognizes that. In fact, even in the preface, he says, look, if this is the first book you've ever read on this subject, it's probably not the book for you. I would return it. Amazon's got a great return policy. Return the book, pick up one that might be a little bit more in-depth. He knows a lot more that could be said. So just know what you're getting when you read this book. You're getting a introduction and a summary to a lot of the key arguments. All right. This book is a useful, helpful book that's written primarily for Christians who are thinking through what the Bible says about the subject of same-sex marriage, either because they're having conversations with people about that and they want to make sure they understand clearly the facts and what the Bible actually says, or maybe they're just really wrestling with themselves. Like, what does the Bible actually say? And they really want to try to understand that. And as such, this book provides what I think is a very helpful, useful guide to the topic. And it does so really rooted in the historic biblical and Christian understanding. That's the whole frame of reference that Preston comes from. And so it's a helpful guide understanding what the Bible actually says about same-sex marriage.